What's up, everyone? You're listening to episode 12 of Words and Stuff, a video game podcast by two video game brothers who love to talk about video games. I am your co-host, Jonathan, and I am joined by my brother, Nightwing. Of course, the version with long, flowing locks.
Yes.
Micah.
What's up?
That was the worst intro ever, but we're going to keep it. I don't know why my words were...
Heads off, folks.
Words and Stuff. How have you been doing lately, Micah?
Pretty swell.
Pretty swell.
Yeah.
Talking like it's 1920.
Not nows. Yeah.
If you guys didn't know, this is a video game podcast. We're brothers, and we love to talk about video games. You can find us on iTunes, you can find us on SoundCloud, and you can officially finally find us on YouTube. Just search Words and Stuff or Words and Stuff Podcast, either all one word or singular words. You'll find us either way. If you have questions, send them into wordsandstuffquestions@gmail.com, and we would love to answer them.
Yep.
Micah.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, including some cool speedrun topics, a new trailer to talk about and watch live, and I think the final topic is interesting too because they announced the Scorpio details about all its specs and stuff and what we think that means going forward. But first, let's talk about what we've been playing lately. What have you been playing lately?
I have still been playing Breath of the Wild.
Of course.
But
I've
been playing it very casually.
Me as well.
I haven't even played it today. It's later in the day now. Played it maybe for a half hour yesterday. Just little bits here and there. I'm kind of going through that phase though when you play a video game for a long time, then you kind of stop.
Yeah, we both put an insane amount of hours into it, and I think we're both over that initial I need to play this game, which isn't anything bad about it because, like I said, we've been playing for pretty much a month straight, almost every single day, multiple hours per day and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're finally at the point where I haven't actually beat it yet. I still have to do one more Divine Beast and then Ganon, but that's because I was purposely, the way I wanted to play it, I did the first two Divine Beasts pretty quick, and then I was like, I'm just having so much fun just exploring the world and growing my map out and doing little things that I wanted to do it slowly. So I'm just about to do the Gyarados Divine Beast, and then after that I'll probably mess around a little bit more and then do Ganon. But I definitely wanted to get all the memories first, so that my version of beating the game will be like that alternate ending type thing, that extra ending. Yeah,
something.
And do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever it is. I wanted to do all that kind of stuff first and have kind of beaten the game. And then when I get all 120 shrines and do enough of the side quests that interest me, that'll be my stopping point. I'm not going to go get all 900 Korok seeds because that's just ludicrous. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yeah. But like you, I think both of us were just kind of, we're on the downside as far as the insanity of it, but that doesn't mean that it's still not just as incredible as a game as it is, because it's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
So
What about you? Other than, I guess, Zelda.
That's it. That's it, really. I mean, I messed around with I played a little bit of Call of Duty Remastered just for the fun of it. Just got into that game again, just a couple nights in a row just to mess around with it for a few hours.
Yeah.
First time I played Xbox in a while. And I feel like I did a couple other Switch-related stuff. But I can't think of it off the top of my head. However, is that it for the games you played lately?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want to talk about my review recap.
Okay.
So, as you guys may or may not know, I write video game reviews for my buddy Swaggers, for his site, GameGuideCentral.com. I do a lot of content there. Initially I did a crazy amount, but life caught up to me, and I don't do it quite as often as I used to. But when I get the chance, I like to write reviews. I wrote the review for Has Been Heroes. So I'd like to do the review recap section of the podcast, which is just whenever I write a review, I recap that review by just giving you the intro paragraph and the closing paragraph and then the score. And then if you guys want to read any more of it or look at all the rest of the awesome, amazing content on GameGuideCentral.com, then please go check it out. So here it is. Has Been Heroes is a roguelike action strategy game developed by Frozen Byte and published by Game Trust. It's available digitally for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. A physical release is available exclusively at GameStop. The premise is very simple in nature. There are some old heroes that have been summoned by the king for one last mission. While starting that mission, the villain of the game starts his apocalyptic plan, and it's up to the old heroes to save the day. And right along the line of a true roguelike, there is only one life and one try for the player to save the day. One party member dies, and the game is over. The gameplay itself is unique and creative. Frozen Byte has something cool on its hands here. However, the game feels unpolished and ridiculously difficult. There's a grind and many deaths that the player needs to go through before they can even understand and move forward in the game, and I'm afraid that after an hour or two, most players will give up before they can get to the aspects of the game that are somewhat rewarding. That's the intro, and the closing paragraph is, Has Been Heroes is overall a disappointing game. I played it on the Switch, and although it's being released on all the major consoles, I felt like it will be a great fit and a fun little game for the Switch with its home console/portable crossover attributes. However, the game falls short in a multitude of ways and just doesn't live up to what Frozen Byte has created in the past. It's really unfair, difficult, and is based far too much on luck. The art style and music certainly don't add anything to the experience. On the contrary, they hurt the game. If you can fight through the repetitive and difficult first 5 hours or so, first 5 hours or so of the game, you might find yourself really enjoying the gameplay loop. I started to enjoy the difficulty and fun, unique gameplay after I drove myself through the early monotonousness. But to be honest, if I wasn't reviewing the game, I might have given up before I found some of the hidden fun baked into Has Been Heroes. I do give Frozen Byte some credit for the gameplay that feels fresh and different. If you like roguelikes and you like to try new things, then maybe fighting through the steep learning curve and generally unpolished nature of the game will be worth it for you. But to be honest, I might wait until the game goes on sale, especially if you're like me, and anything that pulls you away from Zelda feels like an unpardonable sin. I gave the score a 6.2, which is an average on our scale. It's the lower side of an average. The pros are unique, challenging gameplay, a fun gameplay loop after the first 5 hours, and the cons are lackluster art style and music, based too much on luck and unfairly difficult, and not easy to learn and doesn't feel like you can master. So overall, I was disappointed. I was excited about this game. It's definitely not getting good reviews across the board. Its Metacritic score is pretty bad. We'll talk about that a little bit later, actually. I was disappointed because Frozen Byte's last game, or some of the last one that I can think of, was Trine and Trine 2.
I love those games.
Yeah, that's a game that you absolutely love. That was on your top Wii U games, right?
Yeah.
And it made our list. I think it was number 10 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good game. The gameplay itself is really fun. One of the best parts about it is the worst parts about Has Been Heroes. In Trine 2, it's got a really pretty style. I wouldn't say that the animations of the characters were that great. They were a little clunky,
Yeah, they were.
but the graphics and the art style really pretty, and just good music. It just was kind of like very fitting music.
Yeah.
The music in this game is horrific.
It is.
Now, once you get to like the second world, it got way better. I was like, okay, here's a couple songs here that are actually pretty nice. But initially, it's really, really bad. And in the way that a roguelike is, you always have to go through World 1 over and over and over and over again. So that first world has the worst music, and you have to hear it every single time you play the game. And it's just not good. And then the art style is just hideous, in my opinion. The enemy diversity is pretty bad, and the animations aren't that great, and it just looks bad. It looks like a early Xbox Live arcade game. Mm-hmm. It looks like I would say this looks really good in like 2006 as a downloadable game.
Yeah.
Not 2017. So disappointing overall. You didn't play it, but any thoughts?
No thoughts.
Cool. All right, you want to go on a speed run?
Sure.
Cool. Speed run is the part of the show where we talk about some news and interesting information that came out over the last week that we'd like to talk about, but not necessarily spend a whole lot of time on. So we have a 3-minute time frame to talk about the information, talk about our thoughts, and then as soon as the 3 minutes is done, we got to cut off and move on to the next one.
Or we beat each other up.
Exactly. So the first one is a rumor, but not rumor. Spider-Man on PS4, which is an exclusive to PS4. Let me start the timer before I talk about anything else. There you go. Spider-Man on PS4 is apparently releasing this year. This was an Insomniac Games representative. Insomniac is the this was not Insomniac Games. This was a Marvel digital games representative from the digital media side, from the game side. He said there's even more on the horizon for 2017, like Spider-Man coming to PS4 and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite coming to Xbox One, PS4, and Windows PC. So in that, he just said there's even more exciting things coming to 2017, like Spider-Man coming to PS4. Bull. I think a lot of people are like saying this just can't be legit because everyone's thought process is the earliest this game's going to be ready is 2018. I would be super surprised if it was coming 2017, and if it was coming 2017, this would not be something that would randomly be announced by some low-level Marvel digital media representative. This would be something that they would have announced in a much grander way, on a grander scale, in a big trailer, or obviously something big at E3 or Gamescom or whatever.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Micah?
Yeah, I'm not taking it too seriously. I don't think the guy knows what he's talking about, or maybe he's kind of just saying it to start something. I don't know. But many times, we have trailers or just games at E3 that they announce and then they actually end up, or not announcing, but then they kind of have it. They have it one year at E3,
yeah,
and then they have it next year at E3, and then that's when they have the fuller scale trailer.
Yeah, and then in playable form and everything else.
Yeah, and then it comes out at holiday. So who knows? I feel like it won't be a very fleshed out game if it did come out this year, though, because I just don't think it. I mean, maybe we don't know. Maybe it's way more down the process than we thought it would be.
The main reason why is because Insomniac Games, based on stuff that they've done recently, it would just feel very fast because they did Overwatch. Almost said they did what's the Xbox game with the weird mutants and with the orange soda energy drink? Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
They did Sunset Overdrive, and then 1 year later, I think it was 1 year later, is when the Ratchet and Clank game was done. So are you telling me that only a year and a couple months after that is when the Spider-Man game is going to be ready? That's the main reason why people are saying like this is a long shot. Because as far as I know, Insomniac doesn't have two different teams. I believe they only have, because some have two teams.
Yeah.
And I'm usually pretty good with knowing that they're different companies have multiple teams and blah blah blah. Time's up. But I'm pretty sure they only have one team, and if they only have one team, then there's no way they can create a game in a year and a half.
Yeah.
That would just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing. This is just something that I thought was kind of interesting. Cave Story Plus is coming to Nintendo Switch in June. And I thought this was interesting because A, Cave Story is a really cool game. B, it's one of those awesome games that was developed by one singular person in Japan and is one of the best examples of the early indie game scene.
Yeah.
Like, this was before Minecraft and before all these things. This was an indie game that had a lot of success out of nowhere, and it was created by one person. It's an awesome game. The other reason why I think it's funny is because this is now like the billionth time it's been like announced.
Throughout my life, I've seen this game be announced or like be published on like a different console like a billion times.
I know, it's funny.
I'm like, this is the same one. I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, I haven't really followed it much. Like, has the different versions come with new DLC and has like this is called Plus. What exactly is it going to be? I'll read something in a second. Yeah. But like, how many versions have come out that they're just the same version, or are they like DLC additive stuff, etc.? You know what I mean? So, and this, go ahead. You're about to say something.
Like, I don't know. I've never played one, so maybe this will finally be the chance to try it out.
Yeah.
Seems like it'll fit well on the Switch. For
I
sure.
played it, but I don't remember where I played it. Maybe I played it on the PC because it came out on the PC as well as like the Wii and stuff like that. And if I did, then I'm trying to remember.
Would have been a long time ago.
Yeah, it was definitely a long time ago. But I remember. I think it was a demo or something. That's why I didn't like play it. But it was interesting. It's like a big story. It's a 2D side-scrolling. And it's got a fun gameplay. It's a cool premise. 2004 is when the game initially came out on the PC.
Wow,
it's crazy. But good for him. One guy is milking this game, and milking sounds a little negative, but like it's awesome that he's able to continue to make money and continue to keep this game moving forward.
I've never seen it as like a negative thing for some reason though.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, the more
Not milking overall, but I mean just because I do usually see that as a negative thing, but for some reason,
especially
just in this scenario,
yeah, it's one guy making a game that he spent
if
years
it
and
is
years of
still
his
one
life.
guy, yeah.
It is no, it was. Now maybe he has more people polishing it and porting it now. You know what I mean? And this one comes with Boss Rush and Wind Fortress. So those are two new things that were not on the original. So that's part of the plus part of it.
Yeah.
But just thought it was interesting that game's coming out for the billionth time.
Yeah.
But good for him.
Yeah.
Cool. Next topic.
Let's go.
Some of PC's biggest games could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. According to a couple of different sources, and according to Blizzard game designer Mike Denias, I don't know how to pronounce his name anyway, multiple games could be coming to the Switch from Blizzard, including Hearthstone and Overwatch. Now, the Overwatch thing is much more of a long shot. In my opinion, I would put $100 down right now on Hearthstone coming to the Switch at some point. It's just perfect.
It makes so much sense.
It's literally a perfect game for that, and I could easily see them doing that. And then the Overwatch thing is pretty interesting because if you read articles online based on this quote that I'm about to give you, it's funny because everybody's opinion on it is different. One article will say, this is the reason why Overwatch will never come to the Switch. And then the next article will say, this is why Overwatch might be coming to the Switch, and it's literally based on the same quote. The quote is, I think the problem is we've targeted our minimum spec in a way that we would have to revisit performance and how to get it on the platform. Also, it's already challenging right now maintaining 3 platforms and patching simultaneously, which is something we've finally been able to achieve. Just because we're not on a platform right now, it doesn't mean we won't reconsider it in the future, so we can stay aware of all these things. Bad news on this would be it sounds like they're thinking about it or thinking it will be interesting, but that would still mean that it's a pretty ways off then.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be annoying if it was like next year it came out.
Seems so weird.
By then it's going to be a game, I promise you. This is going to be a game like a Counter-Strike type thing, not to that degree, where it's just going to be Overwatch, and every couple months or whatever, a new character is going to come out, and this game is going to live for a very long time.
People still play
So
that?
yeah, exactly. So it's not awful that it comes out 2 years later, but at the same time, that's not great. Now, part of it I'm also calling bull, because him saying it's hard to have it on 3 consoles and patching it on all 3 consoles, yes and no. It's not like it's so hard. The main thing he's saying is, really, if you want to erase all the things, I'll just tell you flat out right now, the Switch can absolutely handle the game. It's not a over-the-top, difficult, graphical power game. I'm positive about that. And you would have no problem patching it to multiple different things.
Yeah.
If the Switch right now had sold 10 million, this thing would be coming on it right now. That's the real reason. The reason is he's still waiting, and he's still wondering if it's worth it financially. Because as far as the difficulty thing, game designing is not easy, and porting thing is not easy, but if the money's there, it is easy. Yeah. They'll figure a way to make it super easy.
It's an excuse for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, it's something where it's an excuse. And he's just kind of giving PR speech to make it sound like we're interested, but really it's like if this time next year the Switch will have sold 10 million consoles or whatever, then he'll reconsider all that about it being difficult, because then it's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah, it is. Although I cut it off like ASAP. I don't even know if anyone heard it. Next topic. I think this is an interesting one. Jak and Daxter are coming to PS4 for the very first time.
Wow.
I want to find the exact quote or whatever. This will not be a full graphical makeover like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, but instead it's just going to be an upgraded HD version of the Jak and Daxter collection that came to PS3. So that is going to include Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, which was the original, Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X Combat Racing, which is a completely different game. It's a racing one, which is cool. This was a Naughty Dog game. It was an open world platformer from back in the day when those used to be like the legit main thing. If you compare the Jak and Daxter series to Last of Us and Uncharted, it's clear that Naughty Dog has grown and become an incredible company, and those games are a billion times better than Jak and Daxter. However, it's still a cool series and it's fun. I would be a little concerned. Again, everything changes now in the post Breath of the Wild world, because I feel like as soon as you play a platforming open world game, if you play a game like GTA in an open world, that doesn't get affected anywhere near as much by like Zelda, because you understand that you're in cities and why would I just be able to climb to the top of a huge tower, etc. But in a platforming cartoony style open world game, you're instantly going to be compared to Breath of the Wild and not being able to do all of the...
You won't be able to escape that.
Yeah, you won't. So I'm interested to see how it'll handle. Micah, you're the PlayStation person. Any thoughts?
I don't know. I sometimes forget I am.
What, that you're the PlayStation person?
Yeah, I just thought the other day, I was like, oh yeah, I could play Spider-Man. I don't know, I never even considered the fact that I could play that game. But, I don't know, sometimes I forget I am, because I'm only, year and a half of having a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, I've heard of that series, many times, but I've never really played it. But, considering it's Naughty Dog, I bet it's really good. So, I'd pick it up, I think. Not right away, but maybe if it gets cheaper and see it on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what the price point is going to be yet, but we'll see.
Hopefully, it's cheaper in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
All done?
Uh-huh.
Done with that topic?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Probably should have had this one after the one before that because it's Overwatch related. This is an article by BBC News, so I'm going to kind of just quote the actual article so that so it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
The developer of the hit video game World of Warcraft and Overwatch has successfully sued a company that sold cheat tools for its titles. A California court ordered German firm Boslin to pay $8.6 million to Blizzard for 42,818 counts of copyright infringement. Blizzard had argued that Boslin had reverse engineered the otherwise altered its games without permission. Boslin had attempted to have the U.S. case dismissed, but did not defend it in court. It also faces having to cover about $177,000 in legal costs. By the way, $177,000 in legal costs is nothing compared to the $8.6 million you've been ordered to pay. So this is not done and set in stone. That's what they're ordered now, but obviously they're going to appeal it and go forward. Micah, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's funny.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, it's hilarious, but I mean, basically, they're cheating that to make you better in the game, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So this isn't one player game, single player game. This is you're playing with other people online, so that's going to affect their experience as well. Just altering, just the way the game works, that's wrong. The price sounds a little ridiculous that they're asking for it. But yeah, you basically broke some laws here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't feel bad for. I mean, it's crazy price, but the fact that he got in trouble for it, just overall.
Okay, I don't feel bad at all that he got in trouble. I am concerned and upset about this price. This is ridiculous to me. Like cheating's not cool. Find a way to ban the guy, ban his IP. Just make sure he doesn't get back online, whatever. And I know that he was selling the cheats too, so that's a different thing, and I get it. But it's kind of scary because I feel like if this could start a big wave of more and more of this type of thing happening. Like, what if you're the kid, the random 15-year-old who downloaded it or bought it from the guy, or what if you even got it for free? Are they going to start suing the pants off of the 15-year-old that just found a cheat online? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know he shouldn't have been doing that, and it's against the rules of the game. And when you start playing a game, especially an online game, there's always this big thing of a big whatever, something you're supposed to read. You know what I mean? And then you click the I accept the thing, and none of us actually read those things because you would be reading it for 4,000 years. But you're breaking the rules of that thing that you then signed, but none of us ever read it. But I'm afraid that it could start something where it gets a little dangerous. And the saying is, don't bite the hand that feeds you. The people, Overwatch and Blizzard is getting fed by us, the gamer. So don't bite the gamer's hand. I know that the gamer shouldn't be cheating, but just ban him, figure that kind of stuff out. That does the trick 99% of the time. I mean, I've got one friend who's lost thousands of his gamer score because he cheated in a couple things to get some gamer score, and now he will never do it again because they got rid of a bunch of his gamer score and on the Xbox. So that usually does the trick. And by the way, it was from Halo 2, and it was about a year ago. It was from Halo 2, it was Halo 3 on the Xbox 360 back in like 2007 that he cheated, and he got caught recently. It was really weird. Anyway, it feels like it's overblown, and it's kind of scary to do that. That's just my thought, though.
Yeah, I think that these issues are still happening though, so maybe the just banning them hasn't been a big enough deal.
I guess so.
But with anything though, I mean, crimes still happen, and people can be fined and go to jail for it, but they're still happening.
Yeah.
I feel like they better be careful too, because the community might not
rise
be
up
happy
and
about it. Blah, 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 and like, we're not buying your games anymore, blah blah.
Yeah, they always say that, and then they don't. So, Mass Effect Andromeda just sold a bazillion copies, even though that game's not even that great. It's getting just reviews, and everybody said that they would never buy the game again, thanks to what they did in Mass Effect 3. So, whatevers.
Fan bases.
Stupid. Next topic.
Yeah.
Square Enix says they're focusing more on Nintendo Switch than the Xbox Scorpio.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. In a recent interview from Square Enix CEO Matsuda-kun, he had a couple of different things talking to NeoJaff. He talked about extending the life of titles through updates. So they're saying that that's going to be a focus moving forward, that they believe in updating, and DLC is a helpful way to make the game last longer, and that's definitely true.
Yeah.
He noted that releasing titles in Japan and then waiting several months to release it overseas is not a good business strategy, especially for story/adventure focused titles. So that's great to know that they're focusing more on worldwide releases. Yeah. They don't want a game to come out, especially the bigger ones. I'm sure they're going to have the smaller scale, random Japanese RPG that they might still come out in Japan first, and then if it is successful there, then they might transfer it over to us.
Yeah.
But definitely the bigger ones, they're trying to do worldwide releases, which is cool. It's good that everybody gets to play the games at the same time.
Yeah.
They said smartphone titles in the first. Yeah, I'll skip that one. Smartphone users, blah blah blah. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Notice that 2017 has Nintendo Switch, Xbox Scorpio, and Windows 10 Games Mode, and as their main focuses, but out of all those, Square Enix is focusing much more on the Nintendo Switch. The part about Nintendo Switch is interesting. Matsuda-kun said that having platforms is good for content creators, therefore he would like the Switch to be successful. He wants to add more titles in development and existing ones to be ported to Switch that are possible and feasible. What do you think about all that?
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Final Fantasy 15?
Yeah, I think that could happen.
You mentioned that to me personally.
Yeah.
Did you just think that, or did you see that somewhere?
No, I saw that as a list of some of the possible ones that they're
cool.
considering coming over. And again, I think a lot of people are a little overblown on the Switch being underpowered. Yes, it's underpowered compared to the Xbox Scorpio and the PlayStation Pro, perhaps, whatever, but it's not that far behind the Xbox One and the PS4. It is behind, but it's not that far behind. I remember when Destiny 1 came out, people were saying, oh, this is impossible on the Wii U. That's why it's not coming out on the Wii U. The reason why it didn't come out on the Wii U is because the Wii U wasn't selling. It's the same argument that I was telling you before.
Yeah.
And my argument for that is that Destiny 1 also came out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah.
They allowed that game to come out on those older consoles because people still had those.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people with those consoles. So it was a little bit of a mix. This new one obviously is not going to come out on the 360 and the time's up. And the PS3, but it's going to come up. But basically, I'm going overboard. You can beat me up over this one, Mike.
Okay. I will.
Okay. After the show, please. I don't want our listeners to hear it.
No.
It will be embarrassing.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I believe that the power talk is overblown. I think that, yes, I think if you took a game like, I don't know, maybe what the new Red Dead's going to be, that Switch might just literally not be able to handle that because it's going to be so grand and so huge, etc., right? But then you might say the same thing. You might say like, oh, there's no way the Switch will be able to handle Grand Theft Auto 5. Are you sure about that? Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in the 360 and the PS3.
Yeah.
And the Switch is on par, is better than those. It's power-wise, it's better than those. So if you think that GTA 5 is a grand, big game, extremely expansive, and that a Nintendo console just can't handle it, you're wrong. I think that the Switch absolutely can handle it. And the Wii U probably could have too, but it didn't sell. They didn't want it on. I mean, hey, it took them forever to put it on the PC. They're not interested in putting it on a console that's only sold 12 million. Are you kidding me? In its whole lifespan of 5-6 years?
No.
So I think that a game like Final Fantasy 15 is doable on the Switch. Would it be maybe tricky? Would it maybe not look quite as good? Maybe. But I think it's definitely doable. And if the Switch sells very well, I think it'll come out on those consoles. It might be slightly dumbed down. It might be not look quite as good. I think there will be some examples like a Red Dead 2 that maybe the Switch legitimately can handle. But we'll see. I'm interested in it going forward. Yep. And the power talk to me is kind of overblown. So, last one. Nintendo discusses why they are charging for Switch online services. This is in an interview with Famitsu magazine. Famitsu said, "You also plan to start charging for online service coming in the fall. It's only natural in this current age, but can you tell us again why you chose to charge for it and what sort of services it will entail?" This was I don't know how to pronounce his name. Takahashi. Yeah, it's definitely Takahashi.
Yeah.
Takahashi from Nintendo said, "We decided to charge for the service because we are concerned with consumer satisfaction. We'll be maintaining the online service and providing new services that we haven't had up until now, and there are costs associated with those. We'd also like to maintain a stable playing experience and provide proper support. We are working to prepare all of those features until the service begins in the fall of 2017, and the details of that service will be available at a later time." So obviously, he didn't tell us anything new because he's not going to. But I thought it was very interesting for them to ask that question and for him to be pretty open about saying the reason why we're supporting it is because we want to maintain a better, stable playing experience. So they're going to put up more servers and they're going to have it be more solid, and not have as many issues. So maybe the next Smash Bros. Won't be borderline unplayable at times because of how bad the internet is, which is something I am willing to pay for. If Smash Bros. Runs better online, I am willing to pay, especially since it's only $30 a month. It's even less than it's half of the price. Excuse me, I always say that. It's only $30 a year, which is half the price of the Xbox and the PlayStations. And then obviously talking about new features as well, like having a new game every month for free. It's probably going to be virtual console ones to start off, etc. So I thought it was just interesting for them to talk about it and talking about the reasoning that they're charging. Any thoughts?
I'd love to see that. I felt like that was the fact that really they just wanted to have better maintenance and
it's worth it if it was just that, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's Smash Bros. Games like that, Splatoon, just for them to play better. We'll see a big difference, especially with games like Smash Bros. When we eventually get down the Switch. Yeah, which was pretty laggy.
Something like Mario Kart doesn't matter quite as much because a racing game usually doesn't matter quite as much for the way that the infrastructure is run, because your car is still going to be running perfectly, and then how other people's carts are reacting to something is if it's a little bit off, it's not as big of a deal. But the two genres where it matters absolutely the most is shooters and fighters. Yeah, because you're interacting directly with the competitor, and billisecond to billisecond reactions matter. So in those genres, those are the two that matter the most. And now they have Splatoon, which they want to have being as a big thing moving forward. And they obviously have Smash Bros. And then, I don't know if online functionality is going to come out of the box for ARMS or how much that's going to be, but they're probably going to want to expand on that. So that's another fighting game. So they have some genres in those fields where it really matters. So having the online functionality and being strong online functionality really matters. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yep. Is that it?
It is.
Trailer time! This is the part of the show where we don't do it all. We started this last week, and I just had a lot of fun. And I want to do this moving forward, at least to an extent. If there's not a really funny or good trailer that particular week, then we won't do it. But a new trailer came out for a game called NBA Playgrounds. Micah saw this and almost watched the trailer, and I was like, "Don't!"
I
want to say this.
I said the name out loud. I was like, NBA Playgrounds? Like, what the frick? And he's like, don't watch it.
Yeah, don't, because I think, we'll just say all of our thoughts afterwards. And sorry that you guys can only hear the reaction, but it's an imperfect way to do this because you guys can't even see it.
Then.
Go watch it for yourself after this. Yeah, here you go, Micah.
Before the arenas and the crowds and the shoe contracts. Before the private jets and the Ferraris and the fame.
Allen Iverson, one of the shortest players ever, is the same height as like a 7'2" guy.
Oh my gosh.
On the playground.
What the frick? So far, they've done the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
It's a bunch of dunks.
And a finger roll at the end.
Is that it? Oh my gosh.
So, Micah, what is your off-the-cuff reaction to that?
It looks horrible. It looks so boring and whack.
Okay, so here's the funny thing.
My gosh.
This is basically like an NBA Jam-inspired game. It looks like it's 2-on-2. It's basketball, and it takes place kind of, instead of being in the actual court, it's kind of in the street. So it's kind of a mix of NBA Jam and NBA Street. Two games I love a lot, although I love NFL Street way more than NBA Street. They need to bring that back. Oh, they need to bring that back so bad. So it's a 2-on-2 basketball game, over the top. You know, people are jumping literally like 30 feet in the air to do a dunk and stuff like that. So it could be a lot of fun. But I think the trailer sucked.
Yeah, it was a horrible trailer.
And I also don't like the whole.
character.
Their heads are gigantic.
Yeah.
And it was really strange that Allen Iverson. Let me rewatch this trailer real quick. I forget who he was right next to. I'll turn this down a little bit.
Their design.
He was right
looks
next.
so
Who was
goofy,
it?
though.
Is it? Oh, it's George Hill. Okay, so George Hill is the person that he kind of like spins the ball around up from. I don't know George Hill's height exactly, but he's like a 6'8" guy, and Allen Iverson was literally the same height. Like, what the heck? Allen Iverson is 6 foot tall, if that.
Yeah.
I hate that kind of thing right off the bat. At least have like Shaquille O'Neal in the game and be 7'2" and huge, and then have little Steph Curry be 6'3". That's cool.
They're all gonna be the same size.
If they're all the same size, that's just dumb.
Same
to me.
like animations.
Yeah, exactly. Having the same animation, same everything. The cool part about it to me is that it has like NBA legends in it. It has like I just said, it has Shaquille O'Neal and Allen Iverson
And the Bird.
And was Larry Bird in it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, I don't know. And it has people like that, and then it also had like Dirk Nowitzki and players that are playing right now. So that's really cool to have the mix of those like previous legends and stuff. Also coming to the Switch, and that's cool. I'm interested in possibly getting the game because I like arcade fun games like this, but I just thought the trailer was really bad.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be cheap too.
Yeah, no, $20, I bet. If it's more than $20, I don't think I'll get it. But if it's $20, then I think that's a fair pricing point. Okay, is that it for that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the main topic of the day.
Which is
two main things. I'm going to start off by talking about the Xbox Scorpio specs that came out. Very exciting. Or maybe it's not.
Maybe.
So, about a week ago, Microsoft teased that they were going to have Digital Foundry reveal some of the Xbox One specs, and then a couple of days later, Digital Foundry released them. So first of all, right off the bat, I want to say that this is a really cool way for Xbox to do this, because let's be honest, specs are not that interesting at face value. So how are they going to find a way to best translate the specs of the console to people where they can understand it and be excited about it? Well, the best way is to have Digital Foundry do it, because they are the number one company, website, whatever, in the entire industry for breaking down something on its power level, on its performance level, in a way that makes sense and in a way that is clear to see, and in a way that instantly, as soon as they show me something, I'm like, A, this is way over my head and there's no way I would have been able to understand this by myself, but then B, they somehow found a way to explain it to me in a way that makes a lot of sense. So they're like the best at doing that. Yeah. So it was great that they did that. And then it's great because they get all of the kind of boring spec details out of the way, so that when E3 comes, they don't have to explain any of that. They're just like, here's how beautiful a game looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very smart. I'm going to read a little piece of an article here. It's going to be a lot of mumbo jumbo that makes a little sense, but I'll explain it real quick. Okay, the Scorpio does. Wait. Okay, the GPU inside the Scorpio contains 40 Radeon compute units running at 1172 MHz compared to the PS4 Pro's 900, so that's 200 more, and the Xbox One's 853, so it's much more than that. On the CPU side, there are 8 custom x86 cores at 2.3 gigahertz, which is 31% faster. Again, like all I hear is random nonsense, but then I hear 31% faster, and then that's the part of it that I'm like, okay, I understand that. Which is 31% faster than the original Xbox One. The PS4 Pro has 8 Jaguar cores at 2.1, while the Xbox One had 8 Jaguar cores at 1.75. So the Scorpio is 2.3, and the PS4 Pro is 2.1, so it's better than that as well. Digital Foundry says that this indeed meets Microsoft's raw performance target of 6 teraflops. So they mentioned the 6
teraflops.
6 teraflops thing, and it indeed meets that. Scorpio will offer 50% more memory than the PS4 Pro. That's a big deal. Going up from 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM to 8 gigabytes, which was available to developers, and 4 gigabytes, which was reserved for the system. This is a total memory bandwidth of 326 gigabytes per second. The Xbox One reserves 3 gigabytes of RAM, but Scorpio needs more so it can run at its 4K resolution. The console contains an internal power supply, just like the Xbox One did. So many people who are upgrading can just swap the systems, and that's really nice. If you go to Digital Foundry, there are way more important information bits than that. The hard drive also, by the way, is 1 terabyte, which was more than the Xbox One and is the same amount as the PS4 Pro. So 1 terabyte is definitely nice. Although I still have the standard one from the Xbox One, and I do always have to remove a download to like delete it off the memory, but the way that it works is that I can easily just download it again later on if I wanted.
It's really not a big deal.
And it's not that big of a deal to me personally. Like, I don't see a big deal with space on the Xbox One because I can just take it off and re-download it. It's not a huge deal to me. Let me see if there's anything else specifically that I can point out. Anyway, yeah, go to Digital Foundry and look at all their information. I looked at a bunch of their stuff, but again, it's way... If I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I understand the general information of this, but it's not to a degree where I'm anywhere near comfortable trying to translate it back to a podcast. All I can say is go to Digital Foundry's website, look at the Xbox Scorpio's articles that they have. They have up a bunch of different ones, all on different aspects that they were able to see. And it's all interesting stuff, and that's the number one way to get that information out. So, like I said, my favorite aspect of this is A, that they use Digital Foundry to do it, and B, that they're getting all this boring stuff out of the way. And I'm not saying boring in a necessarily negative way. I'm just saying in a way in which it's not going to be interesting to hear that on the press conference stage at E3. It's better to get it out this way. And that way, like I said, all they can do is just show you games later on. But to be honest, this doesn't excite me any more or less. I still just need to see the games. And to be doubly honest, I'm still not interested in all the console as of now, because I just am not that interested in the power. Like, yes, it's cool for something to look better. Then I also want to mention that it has a lot of different settings that you can use to adjust aspects of it. So basically, you can say, I would rather focus on, like, let's say you have a 4K TV, which we don't. But let's say you have a 4K TV, you can say, I would rather focus this on putting all the effort into making this the most gorgeous thing in the world, and frame rate isn't as important to me. And you can put that in the settings.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can also put it in the settings that the resolution can be a little bit less, and I would rather it be frame rate. And you can do that on a, as far as I understand, you can do that on a, maybe you can't do it on a game-by-game basis. I hope you can. But it will be really cool to me to be like, okay, I'm playing Red Dead. If this was stuck at 30 frames per second, that is 100% okay. And that way my resolution can be bumped up as high as possible and it can be a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, when I'm playing the new Call of Duty on this machine, I can say, all right, I'm okay with you bumping down the resolution and then making the frame rate as best as it can be so that when I'm playing online, it's fluid and perfect and feels amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's some of the best aspects of it. And unlike the PS4 Pro, the PS4 Pro was kind of like, it felt like it didn't do a lot of things that seemed important to people. But this was saying, like, even without a 4K TV, it's going to make loading times much faster, which is a huge deal. It's going to make frame rate much better. It's going to give you the sliding scales to say, I would rather you focus on resolution or da-da-da. And that's even without the 4K. So all of those things are really, really interesting to me. The price point still matters a bunch. And I still don't know if I'm that interested. Like, I'm happy with the Xbox One. So what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, here's the issue. I mean, it's great, more powerful and all, but they need games. Mm-hmm. You don't want this giant, powerful machine without games. And right now, their future with games and right now doesn't look very bright.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost the Dragon game or whatever. Just overall, they don't have any, like, nothing like what Nintendo and what PlayStation has a little, but nothing like, no games like Mario or franchise like Mario or Uncharted or Last of Us, or Zelda that they can lean back on to save them, other than Halo, and they're spewing that out as much as they can right now with like Halo 2 and stuff. I mean Halo Wars 2, and then Halo. I guess the next Halo will probably come out sometime, or they'll announce it sometime soon. But really, other than Halo, that's all they have. So they're really gonna somehow need a lot of good games and exclusive games that are gonna make people want to sell this and buy this. I think they might be targeting PC gamers more with how strong their console is. Or
just power nerds in general, and I don't say that negatively. I mean, maybe negatively a little bit, because there are power nerds that annoy the crap out of me, and then there are also power nerds that it's perfectly fine if that's one of your favorite aspects of gaming is that a game looks gorgeous.
And as a Nintendo guy, that doesn't affect me much at all.
Yeah,
I'm not a big person.
But at that same token, when you played games like Uncharted and Last of Us, were those some of your favorite aspects, just how beautiful the game was? Especially something like Last of Us, where it created a world that was just beautiful to you, right? Or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
Really, because the TV that I play on is an older TV and it's bigger.
Yeah.
Compared to yours.
Yeah.
I think if I hooked it up on yours,
it might be better. Even. Yeah.
Mine doesn't look very well. I remember playing like Dark Souls and then switching on the other one to see what it looks like, and it looks so much better.
Yeah.
So that aspect,
even though it is an HDTV and whatnot, it just still, for whatever reason, doesn't really have the greatest resolution.
No, it doesn't. So no, not really.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought, like you said, games is what matters. And the interesting thing is that Phil Spencer came on to Xbox Unlocked, which is an IGN podcast. It's pretty much the number one Xbox podcast. And he said that moving forward, the Xbox Scorpio is not, like, he's not expecting, and they're not pushing it out there as this is going to be a huge console that sells a bazillion things right now. He's saying, like, going forward, the Xbox One S, which is the new version of the Xbox One, that's the console that's going to sell. The Xbox Scorpio is going to be a premium console. Okay. So it's people out there that want the thing that's prettier and want the thing that does more features and want the thing that's more expensive and has more, flashes and nuts and bolts inside of it, that this is the thing for them. Yeah. And I think so on that degree, I really like it.
Going for that approach, I think, will help them too, because if they went for like the approach that they want to sell like hotcakes, and
I agree,
will make it set up for failure, and people like, oof. Mm-hmm. But if they make it seem like that, people will see it like that then too, and be like, okay,
they're going to be like,
it's not failing, it's just the premium version.
Exactly. The ugly Xbox that I have doesn't exist anymore, really. Yeah. And it's going to be, here's our Xbox One S, and this is the Xbox that you're supposed to get. This is the awesome Xbox. And then on the other side is, hey, if you also want the Scorpio, it's this gorgeous thing. And a part of the marketing idea is that they're going to market the Scorpio as they're going to market the crap out of the Xbox One S, especially over Christmas time and stuff like that as well. But they're going to market the Scorpio, right? And people are going to see the gorgeous looking thing on the Scorpio, And then when they go to GameStop, they'll see it at the store, and they'll see the price tag, which is probably going to be pricey. They didn't announce the price yet, but Digital Foundry said that they're thinking it's going to be $500, which is expensive.
Yeah.
So they're going to see the $500 price tag, and then right next to it, they're going to see the $250 Xbox One S. And then they're going to go up to the guy there, and they're going to say, what's the difference? And they're going to say, it plays the exact same games. This one just looks better. And then they're going to say, cool, I'm going to get the Xbox One S. So in a way, the beautifulness of the Scorpio might actually... It's the same way that if you go to E3... I just bailed on that sentence, by the way. I like when I do that. The same way that they do at E3, where they like, here is... They'll show you the game, and in the bottom, it often says running on PC. So you see the game in its most gorgeous form.
Yeah.
And then you go buy it on the Xbox One, and it looks nice, but it doesn't look anywhere near as nice. But you don't even kind of realize that because you're just saying this is a fun game and it looks really pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of going to be the same thing. They're going to show you this game running on the Xbox Scorpio, and it's going to look gorgeous, and you're going to say, I want this game. And then you go to GameStop, and you're going to say, and some people are going to pay for the premium product. And others are going to get hooked in by the gorgeousness of the Scorpio and then be okay with buying the Xbox One S for half the price, and then Microsoft still does a good job.
Yeah.
That's their route, and I genuinely hope they do well. But I'm a little concerned for them as well, and then we'll talk about that in a bit. Like I think that the next year or two is going to be really telling for Xbox. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I want to move on to the next topic. You ready for it? Because this is a two-part main topic, and then they also kind of intertwine with each other. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
ready.
So, I, with my no-life self, which I'm juggling a full-time job and more than full-time college, and a life where I have a beautiful girlfriend, and do a lot of stuff with her all the time, and busyness with my family, etc., somehow I still found time to make a stupid...
Yeah, I don't know how you did.
to make a stupid Excel spreadsheet on the following. So basically, a couple days ago was the 1 month anniversary of the Nintendo Switch. Happy 1 month anniversary, Nintendo Switch. Yay. And I was interested in this narrative that people are talking about. Basically, the main complaint to people, a lot of people, is saying that the Switch just doesn't have games. And I was thinking more and more, I'm like, I don't think this is true. So I wasted about 2 hours of my life making not quite, maybe an hour and a half, making an Excel spreadsheet of all three of the major consoles right now, the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch. And my spreadsheet that I created was based on the first month of those consoles' existence. So I basically made this spreadsheet, like I said, all based on that first month, and the games that they provided. Now, I totally can admit, and will totally admit, that the Switch's features and stuff are bare bones right now. There's no, like, Netflix, and there's no, like, online, there's no browser.
Yeah.
And I promise you, that's all going to come. But I'm not talking about that at the moment. What I'm talking about is the games. People saying, oh, all the Switch has is Breath of the Wild. And I looked this up, and I did all the work and research for it, and I had a lot of fun finding out the results. And this ties into what I was saying about the Xbox as well, and how I'm interested in the next year or two of the Xbox, because I think that the Nintendo is doing great right now. The Switch is selling like crazy. More projections have come out. We're saying that they think that the Switch is actually going to sell 20,000 units within the first year, which would be insane. But it is breaking records across the board. It's selling faster than the PS4 in many different regions. It's doing great. And part of that is because it has fun games, and obviously Breath of the Wild tops that list. But basically, the spreadsheet that I created was the PS4's first month of games, the Xbox One's first month of games, and the Nintendo Switch's first month of games, and how they compare. I made a list of all the games, and then secondarily, I wanted it because quantity is important, but quality is also important. I went on to Metacritic and got the Metacritic score for all these games. Now, I will admit Metacritic's not perfect, but I love Metacritic. And people who complain about Metacritic kind of doesn't make sense to me, because basically all Metacritic is doing is it's getting the reviews from the reputable sources across the internet and magazines and just putting them all to one website, and then just giving you a score for the average for all of them. That makes sense to me. Now, some websites have a bigger pool, so if there's a little less meaningful website that's still a reputable website, but just, not as big, that score, if it gives it like a 10, it seems like a great score. That's nowhere near as important as IGN giving it a 10. So IGN's scale of it is bigger, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they do stuff like that to make it, I believe, better, because it would be weird if there was all these, if like some of the sources that you trust a little bit more, like an IGN or Game Informer and stuff like that, if they were saying that this game's a 7, but then random little websites were giving it like a 10, like I kind of trust IGN a little bit more, you know what I mean? Now, maybe not, because you can always go on there and say, oh, this is, I don't know, Vince Incognito, which is actually a guy's name from IGN, who maybe I'm not a fan of his reviewing, you know what I mean? So if he's literally the one that reviewed it, then maybe I'm not the biggest fan of IGN, of that review of it or whatever, you know what I mean? But in general, they are a trusted source. So it makes sense that Metacritic would make theirs be weigh a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a list of all their games, and I got a list of all of the Metacritic scores, and these are the results. You ready to hear this?
I am.
Okay, let's start off. I'm just going to give you all of the PlayStation's thing, okay? So the PlayStation the PlayStation 4 within its first month of existence, exactly 30 days, or from November 22nd to February 22nd, it had a total of 24 games. So its first month of existence, it had a total of 24 games, 8 of which were exclusive. All right?
Yep.
And then if we go to the Metacritic score based on this, its average score for all of those games was 75.7, which is pretty good. 7.5 or around there, 75, is a good score.
It is.
Its best game overall was a 91 overall, and that was Flower. Now, that's a little funny to me because Flower is a game that initially came out in like 2007 for the PlayStation 3. So even though that is a good score, it's kind of like, it kind of matters a little bit less because it's like, oh, our best game is a game that you played 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like less important. But still, 91. Its worst overrated game is Knack.
Makes
and
sense.
it had a Metacritic score of 54. So, the number of games that it had that was worse than a score of 60. Okay, again, so it had a total of 24 games. All right. So a number of those games that had a Metacritic score of under 60 was only 2. So that's pretty good. The number of games that it had that was under 70 was 5, which again is pretty good. And a number of those 24 games that was above, which was equal to or above 70, was 19. So that's a lot of their games that was better than that.
Yeah.
The number of games that are equal to or above 80 was 11. Also very good. And the number of games that are equal to or above 90 is 1, which was just Flower. So basically, they have a lot of games that are 70 or above, and 11 games are 80 or above. So they gave you 24 games within that first month, and they gave you good games. Like I said, overall 75. Those 24 games, total games, is the second most between the Switch and the Xbox, and the PlayStation. And the number exclusive that it has is 8, and that was the best. They had more exclusives within that first month than any of the 3 consoles.
Yeah.
Okay, did that all make sense?
Yeah.
Can you follow? I'm trying to make this as
easier.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a little bit confusing to try to translate it over. No, I want to do Xboxes next. Okay, now we're gonna do the Xbox One, which was not that good. So its number of total games was 23, which was only 1 less than the PlayStation. So that's perfectly fine. You can't like stick your flag into PlayStation 4 and act like it was way better when it only had one game more, right? Yeah. But it only had 5 exclusive, and that is a decent difference between the PlayStation having 8 within that first month and Xbox having 5. So yeah. Anyway, its average score, however, was for Metacritic. Now we're talking about, of those 23 games, the average Metacritic score was 68. Not that good, especially when you compare it to the 75 that PlayStation had.
Yeah.
Its best overall game is FIFA 14. So it's a game that isn't even exclusive to their own, and that was only an 88. So it does not even have a game above 90. And FIFA 14 is also available on the PlayStation. So it didn't give you great game. It didn't give you any great games barely. Or I guess if we're talking the IGN scale, an 80 in the 80 range is great.
Yeah.
Or maybe 90 is great. But yeah, it didn't even give you any great games. Period. Of like amazing 9 and above type games.
Exclusively either.
Exactly. Yeah, and especially exclusively. Its worst game overall was a 23, which was Fighter Within. It was a Kinect game, a fighting Kinect game, and it was bad. Of those 23 games, the number of games that were had a score worse than 60 was 5. That's uncomfortably a lot to me. Yeah. That's a score of 59 or worse, and it had 5 of its 23 games of that. That's not that good.
No.
The number of games under 70 was 8. That's okay-ish. The number of games out of the 23 equal to or above 70 is 15, so that's okay. But then here's the big jump. The number of games equal to or above 80 is only 5. So out of those 23 games, only 5 of them had a Metacritic score of 80 or above. That is not good at all. And the number of games equal to or above 90 was 0. So if you were to compare the PlayStation and its first month worth of games to the Xbox One and its first month worth of games, it's clear that PlayStation wins. It has one more total game. That really doesn't matter. But it had 8 exclusives compared to 5 exclusives. The PlayStation's average score was 75 compared to 68 for the Xbox. And then the Xbox doesn't have any amazing games, like a 9 and above. It only has 5 games that are like really good or great in the 80 above. And then most of its games are in the 70 to 60 range, which is kind of like mediocre, average, goodish. You know what I mean? Yeah. To be honest, the 70 range is good. So the majority of its games were just good. But that's not that great, especially when you compare it to the PlayStation. Now we get to talk about the fun stuff. And the cool thing about this is that I went into this really thinking that the Switch was going to do pretty well. I was like, I don't buy that people are saying like, oh, the Switch barely has any games and da-da-da-da. For example, there was one podcast that I listened to that they were saying, oh, people are really excited about this NBA Playgrounds game, which was that trailer that we showed. They're like, oh, they're really excited that it's coming to the Switch also. And the people were like, oh, at least there are some games coming to the Switch. Ha ha ha. And that's literally when I was like, you know what? I want to research this. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Which, real quick, that's just become this on-running gag. That's why, just to make fun of Nintendo.
Exactly.
When it comes to that. But I'm like, it's only funny, though, when it's true. And people are just using it, and it's like, it's not really that, it's not always true.
Yeah, and it might be. And if I did my research here and it came out to be true, then I would be sharing this exact information.
Yeah.
All right. The number of total games. So remember, you can't play games on the Switch, right? It only has Zelda, and that's it, right? There's only one game on the Zelda. Yeah. The number of total games, 28.
Boom.
28 games. Compared to 24 for the PlayStation and 23 for the Xbox. So it has more. 28 is more.
It's more games.
Now,
you know your numbers.
I also wanted to count the number of games that are developed by Hamster Corporation. To explain more, there are some games on the Switch that you can buy right now through the eStore, the eShop area, that are developed by Hamster Corporation. They are SNK games. They are originally made for the Neo Geo. So these are remasters or remakes, not really remasters actually, it's just re-releases of Neo Geo games. So if people wanted to argue that those kind of didn't matter quite as much, and to a degree I kind of agree, you know what I mean? Like, you know, a Neo Geo game coming onto the console, it doesn't compare to FIFA 14 or whatever those other ones were, right? So I understand that. And there are 8 of those. So if you took out all of those, then it would only have 20 games, which is then 3 less than the Xbox and 4 less than the Sony. But I don't think it's fair to take away all of them.
And it's not even a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you compare, even if you said that they're worth half a game, you know what I mean? Like, there are 8 of those games made by Hamster Corporation, the Neo Geo games. So instead of 28, let's just say each of those games are worth half, then it would be like 24 games.
Yeah.
So still, it's right in line with those other ones. So across the board, it's a completely invalid argument if you were to say that the Switch has a very low amount of games for the launch of a console. Because on the contrary, it has more than the PlayStation 4 had to offer and more than the Xbox One had to offer. Period. End of story. Now,
there you go. Maybe
those games sucked, right? And then you would have an argument as far as the quantity. But guess what? They didn't. I'm going to... Spoiler alert. But I'm going to tell you that now. The average Metacritic score for all of those 28 games is 73.4. So,
not bad.
That's not bad. It's 2 points behind the PlayStation. So Sony wins in this category as far as how good their games are within that first month. There's no arguing that. But 73.4 is way better than the Xbox's 68, which was not that good.
Nope.
But the best game on the Nintendo Switch is Zelda, with a Breath of the Wild, with a 97. So it clearly has a much better game at launch.
Yeah.
Much better game at launch than any of those other consoles had. Like, the best game on the Xbox One? FIFA 14. The best game on the PlayStation 4? Flower. A game that came out 7 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. But, like, bam. This has Breath of the Wild. Like, it's significantly better.
Yeah.
Now, you can have the argument that it also comes out on the Wii U. But the majority of the games that came out on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One were also games that came out on the other consoles.
Yeah.
For example, Call of Duty Ghost, Assassin's Creed, Battlefield 4, FIFA 14, Madden 25, NBA Live 15, or 14 or whatever, NBA 2K 14. All of those games were games that already came out like a month beforehand, or a couple months beforehand in some cases, and then they made them again for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. All of those games already came out on the previous generation. Or in the case of Assassin's Creed, I believe that came out in November, and I believe that was like a game that came out after the launch of those two consoles, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, but I might be wrong. But then still, they also had their PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions. So that is exactly comparable to Breath of the Wild situation.
Right? At least Breath of the Wild came out at the same time. Both
exactly.
consoles.
Yep.
Yeah.
The worst game on the Switch has been Heroes with a 49. It's interesting. That's the game that I gave you my review recap for earlier. I gave it a 6.2. Metacritic and the average score gave it only a 49, so significantly worse. I think it's better than a 49. Yeah. I think it's, like I said, I think it's a 6.2, but I'm not extremely offended about that. Actually, I want to reverse real quick. In Xbox's category, they had the game Power Star Golf, and it had an average Metacritic score of like 62. That offends me.
That game was awesome.
That offends me. I did not review that game. I went back to Game Grad Central because I was like, what did I give that game? And I'm surprised I actually didn't review it, but I would have given that game like in the 8s. Maybe even maybe not the low 9s, but in the high 8s. I loved that game.
Go play it.
Go play that.
Super
it was
fun.
Beautiful, wonderful, really fun game. It's one of my favorite golf games ever.
Super chill game.
Yeah, it's like it's golf. It's just chill, but at the same time extremely frustrating when you like mess up and whatever. It's real golf. It's a lot of fun. So, like, to go back to the Nintendo area, Has Been Heroes has the worst game for the Switch as a 49, and I'm not extremely offended by that score because even though I gave it a 6.2, I can see people giving it around the 50 range or around the 5 range. The number of games under 60 is 5, which was tied the worst with the Xboxes. The number of games under 70 out of all of those 28 games is 7. Out of 28, that's not awful, but it's still a little bit much. But here's the big deal. The number of games equal to or above 70 is 22. So there are a lot of games out of those 28 that are much better than 70, so that's nice.
Yeah.
The number of games equal to or above 80 is 10, which is still good. There were 11 games out of the PlayStation 4 that were above 80, and there are 10 games that are on the Switch that are above 80. So those are 80 and above games are games that you really want to play, that you shouldn't miss. You know what I mean? And there's 10 games in that first month on this console that are games that you probably shouldn't miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a lot. And PlayStation had the same. That was where Xbox only had 5, and that's not good. And then the best out of this category, the number of games equal to and above 90 was 2, which is better than any of them. The other one was only Flower for the PlayStation 4, and you can almost toss that one out, to be honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the game that was also above or equal to 90 on the Switch was Words
and stuff.
Shovel Knight. But it was the new Shovel Knight, the Treasure Trove one that has the new DLC in it as well. Yeah. So it is a new game in a way. It has a brand new... and the DLC, by the way, is literally a new game. It's like a full game. And we haven't picked that up yet, but I really want to.
We need to.
So, I wanted to point all that out because it has been a little annoying to me for everyone to make the joke and argument that the Switch does not have a lot of games at launch. In its first month, it has more games than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and it has good quality games with an average score of 73. It has 10 games that have an 80 or above on Metacritic. It has a phenomenal game of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is now in the argument for best launch video game of all time. Right up there with, like, Ocarina of Time? No. Mario 64 and that kind of thing. Like, it's like there are not that many times where you get a launch game that fantastic. Yeah. It's very rare. So I just wanted to completely bust that argument. What are your thoughts on all that information that I just gave you, Micah?
I think it's awesome, and it should be known.
That's why I send it out on this podcast for all 6 of our listeners.
Yeah.
To spread the word.
Go tell them on the streets, on the mountains, everywhere you go. Tell people that there are games on the Switch. And there's more at launch in the first month than there was on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Mm-hmm. It's a true fact.
Indeed.
And Neo Geo games matter too, so those are games as well. So if you don't want to count that, then you're prejudiced against Neo Geo games. What is a Neo Geo?
It's a console.
When did it come out?
What?
When did it come out?
The Neo Geo?
Yeah.
Would you like me to look that up real quick?
You don't know?
I will look it up.
Is it like an old 90s console?
Game console. Not 90s. It was more early. Did you say 80s or did you say 90s?
90s.
Yes.
Was it like a kind of arcadey type
it
console?
Well, yes. It was, the Neo Geo was, if you say SNK or Neo Geo, SNK is more arcade. Like, if you just said this is an SNK game, then people attribute that to being an arcade game. Because if you would see an SNK on the side of an arcade, you would know what kind of game it was. It kind of just symbolized that, right?
Yeah.
And then Neo Geo was the home console version of that. It came out in 1990 in Japan, and also 1990 in America, 1991 in Europe. It was not it was also $650. Yeah.
Wow.
It was not, and it was discontinued in 97, so it had a 7-year span. Not anywhere near as popular as the NES and then the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, but it had its following. People liked it, and it has a look. All SNK/Neo Geo games have this look about them.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It just has this look that you're like this. They're very playable. They're very easy to the eye, and they look unlike other games. Period. There's pretty much no other games on any other consoles that ever looked like this, and I don't. It's a little bit hard to explain, but they're very pretty games, and they have this exact look about them, and they're fun. So yeah. Any more thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, I wanted to wrap that up. I wanted to bring those two sections together now. Basically, with the news of the spec news of the Xbox Scorpio and the specs coming out, and with how great I believe that the Switch is doing, and in general, a lot of people are on the bandwagon for the Switch doing really well. The leaks came out that Nintendo is expecting 20 million. I don't know if that's a legit rumor or not.
Who
but
knows?
Then there are also now two different sources that are saying that they've crunched the numbers and say, I think 20 million might happen. So even if they fall short of that, let's say they sold 15 million, let's say they even sold 10 million in their first year. That's pretty decent. But I mean, that's already almost as much as the freaking Wii U. But they're on a good trajectory. Yeah. I say all that to say this next year or two, and this E3 specifically, very important for Xbox. I don't at all think that the Switch is going to kick the Xbox out of the market, and the Xbox is going to be like, barely surviving. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's very clear that Sony won this console generation.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that they won this console generation, and that's not going to change. They're doing really well. They have great games upcoming. They're doing great, etc. That doesn't mean that they couldn't kind of rest on their laurels and get a little lazy and that other people can catch them a little bit, but it's clear that they won this generation. So, as Microsoft is trying to kind of catch Sony, I think that Nintendo is a threat to them. So basically, if you're someone who doesn't have a single console in this generation yet, if you're still a 360 and a PS3 owner or something like that, right? If you're going to jump into this next generation, there's a much higher chance you're going to get a PS4 over an Xbox One. So the Xbox One is losing out in that category, right? Right.
Yeah.
And now if you are a person who already owns a PlayStation 4 and you have some extra money and you're interested in getting a new console, you can either buy the Xbox One, which has the exact same games as the PlayStation 4, and a few exclusives that no one gets excited about. Or you can buy the Nintendo Switch, that is this up-and-coming new hot thing with a much wider variety of exclusives that people do care about.
Yeah.
So I think Microsoft, like I said, I'm not at all saying that Microsoft is like gonna fall flat in its face and it's gonna be in last place, by the end of this. But what I'm saying is I don't think that they necessarily anticipated this exact thing happening. And I'm saying that if you're a new person getting into video games, you're probably gonna get a PlayStation 4, or actually a Switch for that matter. And if you're someone who is getting a secondary console and you already own a PlayStation, or if you have the Xbox One and you're like, ooh, maybe I want to get the Scorpio, right? You're going to be like, oh, let's wait a minute. Maybe I should instead get a PS4 because of all those awesome exclusives that are on the way.
Yeah.
Or maybe I should get a Switch because this hot new thing that's also portable and has a bunch of good exclusives itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like what Nintendo's doing. I'm really happy that they're on the path that they're on. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to sell a bazillion consoles and they're going to catch Sony or Microsoft, but I think that they have a really good chance of definitely outpacing the Wii U and then being at a very good pace, not quite up to its 3DS standards, but way above its normal home console standards. And that makes sense because it's a mix of the two.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Pokemon, Smash Bros, Monster Hunter, throw them on there. Said a billion times.
Yeah.
That's going to sell.
Yeah, it is.
This is exciting though. I like this tension and stuff where
you don't know what's going to happen.
They're coming back on a more respected level when it comes to being with PlayStation, Xbox, and Xbox seems to kind of be sliding a little because your console isn't anything without its games, so they're going to be they're really just hyping up this console and how good it is, but as long as you don't have any games, it really doesn't mean much.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And
most of their, it's funny that first month of the game's lifespan actually does a wonderful job of painting the same problem that it has now, where it doesn't have anywhere near as many exclusives as Sony does. And its best game in that first month was the game that you could also get on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And that feels almost identical to its circumstance right now. The Xbox just does not have anywhere near as many good exclusives as the PlayStation 4 has, and it didn't have anywhere near as many good exclusives as the Wii U had, which is the same trajectory that the Switch is going on, and even more so. So it doesn't feel like it has anywhere near as good exclusives to the Switch and what the Switch's momentum looks like it's going. And on top of that, the best games that you can get on it are games that you can also get on the PlayStation 4. It's like, what's the best game on the Xbox One right now? GTA 5. Well, you can also get that on the PS4. You know what I mean? Or the Call of Duty games. Oh, you can also get on the PS4. Or Battlefront and Battlefield 1 and etc. Oh, you can also get those on the PlayStation. So it's like some of their... Yeah. And, I'm not poo-pooing Halo 5 and Gears, but at the same time, I kind of am. They're not as good as the Sony exclusives. They're just not. And there's not as many of them. You know what I mean? I would argue... I'm trying to rack my brain for a second to make sure that I don't want to backtrack this statement. Yeah, I would argue that the only exclusive game that Microsoft owns the rights to and has right now that is the best game of its genre is Forza. I think the Forza, and that's both the Forza Horizon and regular Forza.
Yeah.
So I think if you said, what is the best racing simulator, which is like the pure realistic form, I think that most people, and it would fair to say that it's the Forza series. And then if you said, what's the best, the next tier down, not quite the sim version, and I don't mean tier down quality-wise, I mean not quite as realistic, but like open world and exploratory racing game, you would say Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
So they're doing good with that. But that's it. if you went into every single other category, if you went into like action adventure games or something like that, you would much quicker say Uncharted than any exclusive Xbox has. You know what I mean? If you went to like a shooter or something like that, you would probably quickly go to a multi-platform game before you would go to Halo or Gears. Even though those are good games, you would probably still say the multi-platform ones first, right?
Yeah.
And then if you went to like open world games or whatever, you would go to GTA, which is multi-platform, or then you would go to Zelda, or the same thing for an action adventure, you would go to Zelda, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or the best platformer, you wouldn't say anything that the Xbox has as an exclusive. You would maybe say ukulele, but ukulele is also on the other things. Oh,
Yeah.
and then there's Mario. So never mind, the best one. So it's like they don't have the best versions of almost anything.
No.
So I would be concerned, you know what I mean? And again, they have such a promising name. Everybody just knows the name Xbox. It matters.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just don't see it being in the place that I would like it to be. And well, you know, I just think that it's in not trouble, but I see that the Switch is going to catch it to a degree, and the PlayStation is just going to continue to trample it. So, yeah.
Amen.
Thoughts?
No.
That whole last segment was just me talking my butt off.
I said some stuff.
Literally, I don't have a butt.
But I'll talk some. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you got a quote of the day?
Yeah.
Wait, before we do quote of the day, we
Wait,
have to do,
so-
what are you excited about? Anything? Can you think of anything?
No.
I'm
Actually,
go ahead.
it's March.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's April. What's
Yes.
coming out in April? For Nintendo. Is ARMS? I think ARMS is coming out soon.
You want me to check real quick?
Stupid name, but...
April games, Nintendo Switch.
Or just search up ARMS specifically.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. Oh, well, Oh, here's another... Oh, wait. Ooh, want to do a brand new update?
Street Fighter? What is
Nintendo Switch Overwatch news. Update. Blizzard has good news and bad news.
Oh.
Okay.
Might be the same article.
Yeah, it might be. And it's like... But it just came out 29 minutes ago. But,
Yeah, just someone who's late. Okay. We're being a little too quiet here.
People are fine.
I'm searching.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
I'm
Yeah, I don't
searching
see.
up
I don't
ARMS
see. I
right
don't think
now.
it's actually anything new.
New.
I have an article for this right now.
It actually doesn't have a month.
No, because I think isn't it
It's
it's Mario Kart, Micah. Mario Kart is coming out this month.
Yes, which I'm not really excited for.
I'm excited to a degree. Okay, so Graceful Explosion Machine is coming out this one, which I'm excited about. Mr. Shifty's coming out, which is kind of like what was that top down kind of really violent game that was popular for a little while, where you would like go through rooms and it was extremely difficult. Like one bullet would kill you, and you would just pop the corner and shoot somebody with like a shotgun and pop back and move around.
No idea.
Okay, cool. Lego City Undercover already came out. Puyo Puyo Tetris is coming out. Mario Kart 8 is coming out. So those are some Switch games to be at least semi-excited about. I'm excited about something that people are going to be able to play, but not us yet. Ukulele is coming out this month for other people,
Yes.
but not quite us. So I'm excited. 2 indies that I'm excited about playing on the Switch. Rhyme and Ukulele. But we have to wait for both of those. It's a couple more months for both of those, but I'm excited for those.
I'm excited for just games.
Games.
Just stuff.
Games. Oh, and I'm also excited to, now that we're over the initial hype of Zelda, to purchase a couple Switch games and have fun with them.
Yeah.
That because we have some, but we don't have a whole lot. So I'm excited to get Graceful Explosion Machine. I'm excited to get Shovel Knight. I'm excited to get maybe Fast RMX, maybe not, but just try a couple other ones because there was no reason to buy any other games yet, except for a few that we tried. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah. And I'll be done with my first year of college in a month. So
That's exciting.
month and a day. That's what I'm excited about. Okay, you ready, John?
Yep.
Here we go. You guys ready? I can't really say anything. Yes.
Wait, let's ask. Are you guys ready?
Hello?
Great.
Oh,
Like Dora the
no one's
Explorer.
listening. Yeah. Great.
I used to always, she'd be like, "What was your favorite part?" This is when I was like babysitting Micah as a kid, or my nephews or something, or my niece. "What was your favorite part of the day?" And I'd be like, "Murdering you with a, machete and freaking cutting your buddy Boots' head off." Great.
I'm glad I didn't hear that, or you would have really scarred me there.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you guys. Oh, wait, never mind. Ready?
Yes.
We accept the love we think we deserve.
What does that mean?
We accept the love we think we deserve.
Okay, so you're saying...
we open-heartedly accept love. Like, we just open our hands and open our arms, and we're like, yeah, to love that we already know we deserve.
Okay.
It's like, yeah.
Interesting.
So, that's by a person. Someone. It said their name, but I'm going to keep it a secret.
Nintendo Switch!